As dumb silence hits the ground. Good evening, welcome to the first council of the 2017-2018 academic year. I'm Errol Kerr, your chair of council for this year. I would like to first note that this is being recapped and this is being live streamed by NUTV. If I'm correct, the recording will be available online afterwards. First off, our first points are to pass the minutes of the previous meeting. This is just done by a show of hands from everyone who has clickers. If you'd like to pass these, raise your clickers now. Anyone against these? Any abstentions? No. Those passed. And now for our first round of elections. We have 8 open places available. Now, these are guaranteed roles, guaranteed voting places at Student Council. You have to be available for all 6 councils, well, 5 councils, seeing as a lot of you are here. And essentially that just guarantees you a voting place for the remainder of the academic year. There are 8 places available. If you would like to nominate yourself for a place, could you please come to the front and pop your name on the slip just over there. We've got it's over here. Right, so we've got significantly more than 8 there, which means that how many do we get? 1, 2, 3.
I apologise for any spelling mistakes. It's not happening.
So, how this is now going to work is that each of you are going to stand up and present for 30 seconds. I'm going to give you 40 if you're lucky on essentially why everyone else is to elect you elect you into an open place, and sit back down. Next person, just go through the entire list. If you can't stand, that's absolutely fine. Right. I'm gonna start picking you out random. Right, Siobhan, Waddle.
Actually,
Feel free to just...
oh, sorry.
Do you want me to go by the order of the
That's the order you'll put them in.
Fine.
And that's the order to do your preferences.
Just know I was going to throw a spanner in the works as well. Right.
Right, you have a moment. Jack.
All right, then can Jack Green please stand, and you've got 30 seconds.
Hi guys, I'm Jack Green. I'm third year computer scientist. I came to youth council in my first year by mainly started me last year, second year. I really enjoyed them last year, really nice seeing everyone safer and sort of coming into a council with like one opinion and then allowing other people to change their mind and both having their own opinion on it. I'd like an open place in here to keep like expressing my views and representing each other. Cheers.
Brilliant. Now, our next individual, Shyam Sanjeev, cannot make it, but emailed in instead. So I have an email to read out. I'm looking to become a member of the Student Council. The Student Council of a university is inarguably a body for the students, by the students and with the students. It is a platform where students voice their concerns and issues, regardless of how big or small they are, with freedom. Being the highest representative body in the Students' Union, I'm aware of the challenges and the responsibilities a member of the Council faces, taking decisions, looking to various issues, etc. I have participated in various voluntary activities in my school back home, along with activities and group work where I was assigned the role of representative. So I believe this role will help me to understand more about university life, its issues, and more about the working of the Students' Union, and also at the same time provide a great experience for me as a student of the university. Thank you. Our next individual, Jonathan Hall.
Hi everyone, I'm Johnny. I just went on the informal. Basically, it's my first time at a student council session, but I'm in my final year now in electrical engineering, and I just decided that I want to get more involved in the democratic processes that are involved in the union. I've had involvement in societies for 3 years, like I've been on the Shock Stocks Committee for 3 years, and I'm like currently president of RAG. So yeah, I just want to get to grips more with like what goes on in the union and get back to it while I'm still here.
Thank you. I am going to butcher this name. I apologise in advance. Is it Marique? Or is it? Marie. I apologise. Go for it.
Yes, I'm a second year psychology student, and I really like to be part of the committee. I've done stuff before like this in high school, but never at this sort of level, so that's what I really like to be part of. I mean, I'm on the SSC committee, so something like this, on a larger scale, I'm more interested in sort of representing voices on the wider issues, which I'm really interested in. So,
Thank you. Zane?
Hi guys, my name is Zane. I'm in my 4th year. I'm a combined honours student. I do politics and geography. I went to Queen's University Belfast for 1 year and then I transferred here. So I've had 4 years of university life and understanding how kids and students feel. So I really want to help And this is my first meeting, so I want to actually come to them more and increase its popularity, because I don't think it's very well known, or as much as it could be. Thanks.
Thank you. Amelia?
Hi everyone, I'm Amelia. Last year when I came along to October Council, it was a spontaneous decision. I ended up sitting next to Holly, and she encouraged me to go for an open place, and I got it last year. And it was one of my favourite experiences last year. I absolutely loved coming to council. I love student democracy, and at the May Council I even submitted one of my own motions. So please vote for me so that I can continue representing the students and supporting student democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elena?
So I'm afraid it's spelled Elena, pronounced Eleanor, but I'll let her or L-A, which is easier. So I'm a second year studying joint honours, politics and sociology. And last year I was course rep for my course, and that's why I was part of the sociology student staff committee. And that was really interesting. This year I'm now the secretary, so I'm really enjoying a lot of work with them representing students, and it's a lot of liaising between student staff and actually getting things done. I was interested in that in the first place because I was part of the committee as head girl in my school back home in Yorkshire. So I'm quite used to these kind of committees, and it's really interesting just learning how they work and the democracy involved. And I'd quite like to be able to come and vote, and again, like Zane said, see what goes on so I can relate back to people. I know the people on my committee would be really interested, and a lot of students would like to experience.
Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee. I've never been to a student council meeting before, but that's kind of why I came today, and I decided to run, just because I want to spread the word, get people involved. I'm actually president of Women for Women International, and I'm also social secretary for debating. I've been there 3 years, so I'm quite used to democracy and having conversation. I've been in roles of leadership before. I've been prefect, deputy head girl, student council at my old school. I've even been a gymnastics coach, so I think I'm pretty responsible. And I'd like to, spread the word, get everyone talking. I would love to go my third year, and I really want to give back to Newcastle University. I think it would be a really good opportunity for me to do so. So yeah, please vote for me. Thank you.
Siobhan?
Hi, I'm Siobhan Woodall. I am a second year Conway Honours student. As part of my course I do politics, so I'm very interested in the runnings of student politics. Last year I attended every student council, and I had a casual place for all of them except for one, which I did apply for and didn't get. So I am interested in getting involved in student politics. I think it's really a great way to voice student concerns. So I would like to continue to do that again this year.
Dean?
Hi, I'm Dean. This is my third year of student council, so I feel like I'm well experienced in it. And I also took part in a referendum for the NUS. I'm sure if you're around at that time you'll remember it. So I'm well accustomed to student politics as well, so please vote for me.
Chloe?
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm a second year psychology student. I was really looking to get an open place at council last year, and I really look forward to coming to each of the sessions. I felt like really included in the student union, and I felt like I had a say in kind of what was going on. And I was able to spread the word where we got my coursemates and housemates, which I really liked. I was the leader of my charity committee forum, and I was a course rep for the student staff committee as I did last year. So I feel I have a good knowledge of how committees work and how to increase representation and just democracy in general. So I really appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Yep. I could just say what Kay said, but if everyone puts them in order of preference from 1 to however many, and they'll just they know what they're doing.
You can just press 1, 2, 12, because we have this slide.
Making sure my phone counts.
Is that?
Yeah, Kelly's going to get the rest in.
No worries. With all of those collected in, they should the results should hopefully be announced by tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe, probably. We have a campaigns rep to elect. I believe I'm passing over to Sarah to explain the campaigns rep role.
Yeah, so campaign rep, so you'll sort of help alongside WAC as well. So this is where we sort of discuss what's happening while formulating a particular campaign. So it's sort of helping the planning process of campaigns, and especially this year focusing on campaigns with a focus on the whole student body, so from housing, finance, mental health. So yeah, please take that forward.
Awesome. Right, we have one position available. If anyone wants it, same as before, jump up and put your name down. If we have anyone jumping up.
Do I have to write my name down?
Yeah. No, it's the same chair.
It just looks more.
We have all of one, which makes it a little bit easier. Instead of doing the whole paperwork thing, I can just do this via a show of clickers. So everyone who wants Kira as campaigns rep? Any against? Any abstentions? Nice and easy. Right. Ethics and Environment Representative. There is one position, Ronnie.
Perfect. Come up here for the purpose of
Nice.
Sorry, Sarah. No, the Ethics and Environmental Representative is a really important one to hold both the union and the university to account on environmental issues and ensuring that we're keeping within those parameters that we've agreed. So they will lobby the university on using fair trade products and oversee all union activity related to environmental ethics. So it's a great role, and I hope that we have someone this evening who wants to put themselves forward for it.
Thank you very much. I have one currently. If anyone else would like to put their name down, same as usual.
So the other person will stand with us here under the
Yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't get any less fun every single time you do it. Two individuals, meaning everyone gets to vote again. Same as before, but I'm going to give you a minute each. Get Andrew to stand and speak, if that's fab.
Hi, I'm Andrew Stark. I'm currently president of Young Greens. I'm involved in the Newcastle Society as well. I'm third year history and politics student, and over the past 2 years I've been involved in the fossil free campaign to get the university to divest from fossil fuels, helping to organise Go Green Week, and as a community rep as well, I've done stuff like litter picks and organised beach cleans and that kind of stuff. I feel like this role would give me a bigger platform or an opportunity to do more environmental good in the university, and yeah, things like that.
Lovely, thank you. Jack?
Hi, I'm Jack Green. I've not actually done any committee of any kind through student council at all yet, but I really want to get involved. I'm co-president of RAG this year, and we're trying to do a lot of like community cleanup, things like that, working on like the environment, things like that, making sure that like, all the stuff is provisioned for community environment as good as possible. That's pretty much it.
Lovely, brilliant, thank you very much. Same as before, order of preference, or 2 preferences, and we'll collect them and hopefully have them out by Friday.
Who do you want to do that? Thank you.
Brilliant, that's the first part of elections out of the way. Now, Disciplinary Committee report. This is again just a show of clickers to pass it. This was available online, they should have all been sent to you. If you want to pass the report, raise the clickers. If you do not wish to pass the report, any abstentions? Right, and now I'm going to move on to the State of the Union report, and I'm going to ask Ronnie to come back to the podium.
Well, guys, good evening, and for those whose first council this is, welcome, and I hope to see your faces throughout this entire year. There are a number of things that have gone on throughout the union for the last few months, over the summer and continuing on to the start of this term. So I'll just run through them, although a more detailed examination of them is in the papers. But I think the best place to start is probably our fantastic Freshers Week. And I think it's at this point that I would like to thank each member of the crew, our drivers, our supervisors, chiefs, the media crew, and everyone else that was involved. It was an absolutely huge effort, and I know that it's something that we absolutely pride ourselves on here at NUSU. The focus of our Freshers Week really was to offer a diverse range of activities, and not just make this a drinking week, but actually make it available and accessible for everyone. And I think we managed the bad weather very well as well. In terms of our engagement, this is our long-term strategy throughout this year to ensure that students know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we have a plan to visit every single halls of residence at this university throughout the engagement plan. We also have various welfare campaigns which Sarah is leading on as well. So we've just finished our Alcohol and Drug Awareness Week, which has gone down fantastically well. So I thank Sarah for all of her efforts there. We will be around university as well in our lovely purple hoodies, be it in lecture theatres or in the library, really moving forward with the campaigns that students really care about. But I think a very interesting one, which I think will be of note to Council, will be our new and refreshed relationship with the TAB, and the way in which we are actually engaging with a sector of the university community that I don't think we were previous to my tenure. So I'm very glad that the TAB are there to support us, but we will prioritise the Courier, of course, in terms of our news reporting. Another major campaign that we've been running, an umbrella campaign, I think, is one on affordability, and ensuring that students have as much money as possible to spend on the things that they care about. So we've had some really big wins here. So we have, for example, got on value for money committees from the university over the past few days. We've just secured a meal deal which is reflective of the VAT and rent exemptions which Eat at Newcastle are under. And we're also looking to get more petrol money for medical students, so they're not out of pocket, simply doing their course. So it's those basic changes which may only save students a few pounds a week, but over the long haul, actually making things better for students financially. I suppose one of the biggest ones, which I'm sure many of those at Council know about, is the Islamic prayer space issue, which has been very prevalent in all of our lives as student representatives. And I would say one of the biggest successes of this summer was stopping that space from becoming a multi-faith space when it reopened on the 25th of September. We had to lobby the university very resolutely, but we managed to secure that. But just an update for Council, we are where we are now, which is that the space is under the control of the university, but it remains a dedicated Muslim space until the consultation period at the end of this year and just leading into the new year, at which point we will form a long-term multi-faith agenda. And Hasham Gill will also be helping out a lot with our negotiations and discussions with every faith group on campus. Something else that happened this summer was the NSS, and I think fairly disappointing results for both the Students' Union and the university, and caused us to actually have a look at what else we can do for students and how we can improve those scores next year. We know that our teaching and learning is something we pride ourselves on, but are there small changes that we can make? And Rowan and myself and all the other sabbatical officers remain committed to manifesto commitments that surround the typing of exams or a week off after January exams. And we've had some very constructive conversations with the university on that. And we've also been operating at a national and regional level. So we had a North East SAB get-together, which involved speaking to other university students' unions and how they experience their roles and their practice. And they could have been inside the NUS or out of it, but we had a very constructive day there. So I thank George Watkins for organising that. And we also finally met Nicola Dandridge, who is the new head of the Office for Students, the new CEO, and discussed national political student issues. And hopefully we will be able to inform the way in which that body operates. So everyone at the Students' Union over the summer and leading into this term has worked incredibly hard and working towards manifesto commitment and ensuring that this student experience is as good as it should be. But apart from that, that's probably where I would conclude. And I'm sure, Errol, if there are any questions, I'd be very happy to take them at one end. Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you very much. Right, State of the Union report. Again, it's a pass or fail situation with clickers. So if you would like to pass the State of the Union report, raise your clickers. If you do not, any abstentions? That is passed. General reports on updates and mandates, which involves several committees and reports. Thankfully, these are passed as a block in the same way as before with a raise of clickers. So if you'd like to pass this ridiculous amount of paperwork, raise clickers. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Those passed. Right, questions to the SABs. I would like to invite all of the sabbatical officers to come and stand in a wonderful line next to me and get grilled.
Next to you.
Yes, just in a general over there. If you would like to introduce yourselves with name and role, even though I'm sure I hope everyone knows who you are in this room.
I'll start. Ronnie Reid, President.
James Broston, Editor of Courier.
Road South Education Officer.
Clara McKee, Athletic Union Officer.
Rebecca Bainbridge, Activities Officer. Sarah Craigswell, Project Officer.
Does anyone have any questions for the SABs? If you'd like to stand up, that would be great.
Hi, my name's Sam Cook. I have a question that came out of the reports. It's for Rebecca. I was doing scared of it. It said, I noticed you wrote about the vote on whether the Society's constitution should be online.
Yeah.
It said in the report that the reasons for the vote not passing were discussed at the meeting, but I was just wondering what those reasons were.
Okay, so in case of you, people who don't know, last year Society's Exec decided to bring it to the Society's AGM that all society constitutions could be put online for societies to view if they want them. However, that hadn't actually been brought up with the activities manager, Mark Bennett, who oversees things like health and safety and housing trust and all that stuff. And he raised a few various issues with that. One of them is the confidentiality. So that would mean all mobile numbers, email addresses and signatures of all committee members would be available online for anyone in the world to see. And then there's also the issue of the time. It would mean for almost 200 societies scanning all of the documents into the computer and uploading them. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of work for the staff to do. The activities office staff work so hard, and it would just be added more work on top of that. So that's why I spoke against it, and it did pass unanimously. Well, not pass unanimously. Okay.
Lovely. Does anyone else have any other questions? Going once, going twice. Right, lovely. If you'd like, just quickly take a seat. and we'll get on to the fun part. Right. On to the motions. So our first motion is a business motion. This is just general routine business and is an annual review of policy. At the start of each academic year, we kind of review all policy, filter out anything that is out of date or unnecessary, and pass it through council. This is passed. This is this ridiculously long set of documents which we are cutting out because they've either lapsed or they aren't necessary. This is passed with a show of clickers again. So if you would, it's a 50%. So if you would like to pass the annual review of policy, raise your clickers. If you do not, any abstentions? Nope. That's through. Right. Now we're on to constitutional motions. These require a 2/3 majority vote, 67%. If they get lower than 67%, they fail. These are motions which directly influence the constitution of the Students' Union, and so usually are pretty big deals, or can be pretty big deals. And the screen is dead. So we're going to just... Brilliant. Our first motion is on amendments to complaints procedure and associated strategy and guidance documents. I would like to invite Becca to speak on this. You have a minute, and I'll probably let you roll over.
Okay. I'm actually going to invite Lindsay Lockie to come and speak about this on my behalf, if Errol accepts it.
Yeah, of course.
Fabulous.
Nice quick swap.
Thanks, so. Hi, for all of those that don't know me, I'm Lindsay Lockie. I'm actually a staff member here. I'm Director of Membership Services, so I can't propose a motion. So, I actually worked on this over summer, but I'm not a student, so I can't propose any motions. So Rebecca brought this forward with my recommendation, so she asked me to speak on it. Basically, last year we received more complaints than ever as a union, and actually, fortunately, most of them weren't about us. There were normally student complaints about each other, whether that be society club or just general students. In reviewing all of the complaints, which is what we do every year, review what we've done with them, anything we can learn, any patterns. Certainly there were a lot of complaints that we struggled with the procedures, in that they weren't very clear, some of it was contradicting, and the main difficulty was where complaints go. So we're quite a diverse organisation. All complaints go to the president, who then generally just forwards them to me or give them to the right staff member or committee to deal with. And the main changes within this is really where they go. So a lot of this actually already happens in practice, but wasn't particularly well kind of defined within the procedures. So the procedures will basically say if it's a committee, if it's a complaint about a club committee member, then it would go to AU exec. If it's a club member, it would go to the relevant committee of the club. Society, the relevant society committee member to the society exec. Media was not in there at all, so we did struggle with a media complaint as to where would that go and send it out to media exec. So the amendments are all in the documents that were attached to the papers. Hopefully you've had a read through them all. Okay.
Lovely.
So,
Lindsay, if you could wait.
Yeah, sure.
Does anyone have any questions?
So I read the track changes document.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure. Is it just the investigation aspect that goes to the committees, or do they get the disciplinary aspect as well?
They normally would get the disciplinary aspect. Most of the complaints we receive as staff members, most of the time, depending on it is, was that decision made democratically is the most thing that we would check. So it's really important as an organisation that kind of any decisions on that are made by a student committee rather than a staff member, which kind of is leaving a bit open to, which isn't our job.
So does that mean that, say, like you complain about someone who's like a society member, that the society exec would be able to give out the same punishment, like fines and banning them from NUSU?
No, they would only be able to do something for their society.
Okay.
So it would normally be minor things. If it was something serious, it comes to us, student activities manager would normally support them and actually recommend what they would need to do. But no, they couldn't ban them from NUSU or anything like that. They could just ban them from their society. And when it's something quite difficult, generally our staff would support them anyway through that.
Do anyone else have any questions? Nope. Feel free to sit down.
Thank you.
Would anyone like to speak in favour of this motion? No. Would anyone like to speak against this motion? In which case, we'll just go to a vote. You now get to use your clickers without just lifting them. A, you vote for, B, you vote against, and C is abstain. 20 seconds. Do we not have the countdown music? That is incredibly distressing. We do not have the countdown music this time. We will work it out as we go. You have 20 seconds. You have 20 seconds to vote, starting now. Three. Stop. Well, that has pretty much unanimously passed. Right. Next motion is a motion on repeat motions at Student Council. I believe, am I inviting Rowan to speak for this motion?
Okay, so first of all with this motion, I'd like to make it quite clear that this is not going to stop a motion potentially coming back. What this is for is to prevent a motion coming back that has not been altered after not passing through council the first time. So basically, this means that unless the proposer of the original motion has actually addressed the concerns that were raised by council when it wasn't passed, the motion will not be allowed to come back within that academic year. And the judgment of whether sufficient amendments have been made is to be the duty of the steering committee. The current policy is that a motion can come back after one sitting of student council, and this kind of takes away the finality of a decision by Students' Union Council. So at the moment, a student could propose a motion, and then after this council, they'd wait a seat of council, and then bring it back again the following council without making any changes. And we feel, as an officer team, that really takes away the democratic process of council. So just a couple of examples of some motions that have come back that have not been amended. So we had the remuneration of part-time officers, which is paying part-time officers for their role. Now this comes across as a very...
You've got 10 seconds.
Sorry, right, I'll go quicker. This came back 3 times without amendments and was not passed every time. Whereas there was a motion that came with fossil free. There was an issue with it and it was not passed. This issue was removed and brought back to council and was accepted. So basically, yeah, sorry.
Lovely. Does anyone have any questions? A question?
I'm just wondering what sufficient changes means.
So
changing the wording, or?
So issues will be brought up in council with a motion. There'll be reasons why it was not passed. If those issues aren't addressed, then it won't be allowed to come back. So that could be a very minor change, or it could be a major overhaul of the actual motion.
All right. Anyone else? No, nothing. Grab yourself a seat. Would anyone like to speak for this motion? There were 2 hands raised. Ronnie?
Yeah. Yeah, just to clarify and to redouble Rowan's point, this isn't there to kick any issue that council rejects into the long grass. It's to ensure that there's a development of policy and of motions. So council is listened to on the reasons why council would reject something. So it's to make sure that actually you're not just choosing the right council to bring a motion in front of, you're actually developing the motion to the tune of student council and their worries.
Lovely. Would anyone like to speak against this motion? Go for it.
So when Ronnie pitched this motion to the officer team, I had quite a few concerns about it.
and I asked him to explain to me some examples of motions at the time. Didn't have any examples to hand. But what he expressed was the elephant in the room was that he thought that a specific motion was going to come back to next council. And it just seems to me that this motion's come out the wrong thing, that you want to block a certain motion, which was the working class students officer, from coming back. That seemed to be like the motive behind it, like the fact that you referred to it as the elephant in the room, that you like felt so passionate that shouldn't come back and you believed it was going to come back.
Lovely. Would anyone else like to speak for this motion? Sam?
Yeah, so obviously I am aware of what happened with the working class students motion, and I think Holly's concerns are really valid because obviously it isn't fair to sort of single out one motion. But I would like to say that motion, and if this passes, that motion could come back this year because it was proposed in the last academic year. And when I first heard about this motion, I've also had concerns about it because, you know, if you're only here for 1 year, for example, maybe you can't bring a motion back. I did express these to Rowan and to Ronnie, and we did sit down and work through these things. So I think the key things to bear in mind with this motion is that if you are to submit a motion to council and you get lots of feedback on it and there's sort of one sort of kink in it that means it can't pass, if you're to go back and work that out, you can bring it back. You could bring it back at the next one if the steering committee thinks it's been changed enough. So it isn't the case that a motion couldn't come back for a year, and if you're only here for 1 year or you're in your final year, you can't be involved in council. Motions can come back, but it's just the case that if a motion doesn't pass, there's no point in bringing it again because it's not likely that, you know, there'll be, that opinion will have changed because there probably won't be different people coming, the same thing will probably happen, and there could end up being sort of bad blood if someone's, you know, spamming the same motion over again.
Lovely. Would anyone else like to speak against this motion? No. In which case, I'm going to put it to a vote. Same as before with the clickers. A is for, B is against, C is abstain. You get 20 seconds and it has to get 67%. Go. I really miss that countdown music. I'm not singing. Like, I'm embarrassing myself enough here. Oh, you've skipped it, right? Oh. That did not pass. Right, I would like to move on to the next motion, the election of a vacant PTO position, and I would like to invite Ronnie to the podium. We've got a minute and a half.
Fantastic. So just a quick outline of what this motion means. We currently do not have a PTO position in place, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again after the elections in March. So what this motion will do is it will allow students to nominate themselves and identify, if necessary, in the lead up to a student council. Each interested candidate would produce a manifesto which was visible online before council. A portion of council would be devoted and allocated as a kind of hustings for the role. And after council, a cross-campus ballot would be open to all students across the university to vote for the position. Campaigning is optional, and if it's uncontested, it would just be a manifesto plus hustings combination. But what it would do is it would allow, for example, in March, after the sabbatical officer elections, it would allow a PTO position to be filled. And that would mean that they would have April, May, June, July, until September, October, when they would start to plan and to make contact with sabbatical officers and to plan all of their campaigns and ensure that they can do the best job possible. Whereas now we currently don't have that situation, and I'd like to put that right. So it's enabling flexibility for PTOs to stand for roles which they think are appropriate outside the normal election times. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Everyone, if you could just stay there.
Yes,
Does
sorry.
anyone have any questions? A question.
Lily Godden, Students with Disabilities Officer. One of my worries with this motion is that it could deformalise the process of running for a patchwork officer role. So if a sabbatical officer position for whatever reason wasn't filled, you know, it wouldn't run through a council to go through that. I completely understand the importance of it and wanting a PTO in place before the summer comes in. but with the March and May councils, because of deadlines and exam season, you have the potential last year with Scrutiny Committee, where throughout the entirety of the year, roles weren't actually filled, so you'd have to really push for advertisement. But yeah, I really think it's important for the platform officers to have a formal election process, and I just want to know your thoughts on that.
No, it's a fair point, but I think that we put so much effort into advertising the elections, and we do get pretty good turnout when you look at it on a national scale, and we would absolutely fight to have that. But what I don't want to have is situations where we don't have a racial equality officer, where we don't have a marginalised genders officer, where we don't have an LGBT officer, and a potentially very heteronomous, homogenous sabbatical officer group are making decisions on those groups of people's beliefs. And I would have actually, it may come up later, I would have loved to be able to consult with a racial equality officer over some of the issues that are going on at the moment. If I hadn't had Hasham as one of our faith and beliefs PTOs, then that would have made my life a lot more difficult, and our lives a lot more difficult in terms of making decisions. So that position, that this policy and this motion would allow that position to be elected and in place for the summer when these issues could crop up. And I think that's really, really important.
Lovely. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I'm just wondering why you think that this is the best response to the fact that there's a lack of engagement and a lack of candidates coming forward for elections. So, for example, there's not varied candidates coming forward. The election for president, it was 4 white men that ran for it. Should there not be more of a conscious effort to empower people from minority groups, such as BAME students, to go for racial equality and to run in elections? Is that not the right response rather than this?
Well, I don't think there's an exhaustive list of one response. I think that there are loads of ways in which we can do that. And we do put huge efforts into widening engagement in terms of student elections. And we can absolutely, and I'd love to consult with the relevant PTOs in terms of how we get those marginalised groups into positions of student union power. However, we need to provide the adequate mechanism for them to be able to get into the position at a time where they may be needed. And we have seen that over this summer, that I have really, really needed, and we've really needed, consultation with an elected representative who represents a marginalised group. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to have that. And I think we've done a very good job in some circumstances, but it would have been great to have that. And I think that our voice would have had greater democratic legitimacy. So I agree in a multifaceted approach, but I think this is a good place to start.
Lovely. If you'd like to take a seat.
Thank you.
I'll let you come through first. Would anyone like to speak in favour of this motion? Go ahead.
I think that this motion is really logistically sound in terms of filling a position quickly. Myself, Ronnie and Rowan talked through different iterations of this motion and how they would work logistically, and this was the best option. And I think the question that maybe needs to be asked is, would people rather have a more formal election process and run the risk of not having a position filled, or have a slightly less formal process but have a position filled? I do think that I personally would rather have the position filled. I mean, we're standing here in October, we don't have a racial equality officer, we don't have a Black History Month events programme, and I think it's a real shame that just because, Sophia Robinson wants to focus on her 3rd year, that Black students don't have their history celebrated. And I would rather have had, at the March Council last year, the opportunity for someone to have a hustings. And I would even argue that maybe doing it through council is slightly more formal, because PTOs currently have online hustings rather than in person. I think that if this goes through and a position isn't filled in March or in May, it would go back to exactly the same situation that we have now. So I think that putting this motion in place allows more opportunity for the position to be filled. And if we need to have a formal election process in November, maybe we need to have a formal election process in November. But I think it would be good to open it up a bit earlier. And you know what, sometimes the election process can be intimidating. Maybe people would be more likely to go for it if it is slightly less formal, because what we have seen is that students from marginalised backgrounds are less likely to put themselves forward for elections because it is so intimidating. So I do think this motion would really go at least a little bit of the way to helping to solve this problem.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak against this motion? No? In which case, we'll go to the vote. It's the same as before, 67%, and you've got 20 seconds. Hit it. We're good. That passed. Brilliant. Motion's done with. Now we can get on to some more fun elections. I say fun really, really sarcastically. We have several committees and executive groups to elect. I think we'll just go down the list like I did last time, except this time we have a lot more places available. To start with, we have the Disciplinary Committee, for which there are 12 places available. Who am I referring to in regards to this? Yes, Emma?
Yeah.
Am I correct? Go for it.
Would you like me to speak on scrutiny as well?
Scrutiny's a bit later, but yes.
So yeah, I'm Emma, I'm the Scrutiny Officer for this year and I chair both Scrutiny and Disciplinary Committee. So with Disciplinary Committee you'll be basically dealing with any sort of complaints that have been brought to our attention. That might be complaints about things in council or maybe things like the officers aren't doing, concerns that they might not be doing. The manifestos that they set out during the elections, and it's just kind of dealing with the issues that are brought that they might not be doing the jobs.
Brilliant. Right, there are 12 places available. It's the same as before. If you want to be able to grill all of your officers and everyone who works for you, any student come up ahead and drop the name on, if anyone is interested. Do not all rush at once. No worries. Oh. There we go. Same as before. Yes, you can. Open and disciplinary, you can be an open place and disciplinary committee, yes. Yes, I'm pretty sure you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I have no idea if I spelled it right.
Yeah, not that I've got enough on my hands already or anything. I know. Lovely. Lovely. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nominations and 12 places, so this is just going to be a matter of doing the clicker raising thing. If essentially yes and no and abstain, so all those who want to elect these 5 members to disciplinary. Oh yes, if you'd like, Lucy Marie Kershaw, Dean Geddes, is that Zain Youssef? Yes. Konstantinos, I am going to butcher this, Valtitiotis?
Yes.
Yes! And Eleanor Douglas. Wonderful. If you could just stand up so the room could see who you are. Fab. You could sit down now. All those in favour of electing these individuals to disciplinary? All those against? Any abstentions? Wonderful. Now we have the Education Executive. Is this Rowan's job to tell us what this is?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Basically, the education exec is where we discuss any academic issues. It's with all school reps for university, and it's where you bring to me any issues that are affecting the student body as a whole, and we can discuss that, and I'll be able to put those to the university.
Lovely. There are 4 places available for this. Same as before. Jump and put your name down if you want. Because if you don't, I am. Because I'm allowed to do that this time. Go figure. Yes. It is worth noting, if you are a school rep, you're already on this.
Ooh.
So if you're a school rep, you do not need to do this.
What if I'm waiting on confirmation about whether I'm a course rep or not?
Go for it, and if you get it, you could just drop it. That's what I do. Ooh, this is gonna be.
Wait.
This is gonna be.
How does an executive include every school rep?
I might do.
Thank you.
Do you know what?
I'll
stay in my chair.
Could you pass me a slip and a pen? Thank you. Should I do this or?
Yes, do it, do it.
That's good. Let's do all the things.
Lovely. No worries, I'm waiting 1 second. Sorry. Again, we have 4 places. We have 4 nominations because I decided to not do it, mainly because it involves standing up and talking more. We have Kelly South, Liam McClellan, if I'm correct, or is it McCullion? I cannot be sure. Rachel Binks, and and Jonathan Paul. If you'd like to all stand up so that the room can see you. Wonderful. It's going to be another show of clickers palaver, so if you'd like to sit yourselves down. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Passed. Brilliant. Finance Committee, there are 2 places. If you would like to introduce
Because what Finance Committee is actually a subcommittee of the trustee board directly, so the 6 faculty officers and some of the senior managers sit on it. What this is 2 places for people on council to sit on Finance Committee. If you're interested in business, how we operate, where we make our commercial money, and how all the finances work around the union, this is the committee for you. And we sometimes have this.
So, if anyone likes talking about cash, you know where to go.
Can I do 2?
Yes. Hello.
How often does the Finance Committee meet?
You will have to. How often does the Finance Committee meet? So.
Do you meet on a specific day? Okay.
Busy human, I'd imagine.
But you know, you like to know if you can not make your commitments.
I can understand that.
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's a great thing about being chair of council. I only need to make 6 days.
Contact details, email?
Email.
Sorry, I'm still stood in front of you.
Don't worry.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, don't fret. Hang on. I just clicked, never mind. It took me that long. Lovely. Right. Two places, 3 nominations. Meaning you're all going to have to stand up and talk. Could Jacob stand up and sell yourself?
I'm second year PhD student in finance at the business school. Given my knowledge in finance and financial analysis, I would like to be part of this course, so I hope you will.
Brilliant. Zain?
Hi, my name is Zain. I'm combined on Untitled Chapter again. In my placement year, I was in charge of the global revenues and report sheet for my omnibus team, and I know how profit, costs, how they all work in a larger company. I'd love to see it on the university scale. I'm sure I can help. Thanks.
Lovely. And Alice?
Hi, my name is Alice. I'm a third year law student. I was treasurer for the Women's Football Club, and I worked in the Wealth and Asset Management department at UI, and I also worked in a commodity trading company last summer, so I'm really interested in finance, and I take attention to detail very seriously.
Lovely. Order of preference, we'll collect the forms up. We'll get to do the crossword whilst we wait.
Yeah, honesty.
Democracy.
At the end, can you get everyone to look at the back?
Yes,
huge help.
Do not fret about that.
Yes, I do. And you know.
I know I'm accountable for them, but I'll keep them in line when they need to be done. I promise these elections are nearly done. I promise. We now have Scrutiny Committee, for which there are 6 places. Emma?
So, yeah, Scrutiny Committee looks at the minutes of some pretty higher up committees in the union. You'll be looking to see if there's anything in there, any problems, any issues, looking at kind of how to resolve those. You'll also be kind of dealing with the officers part of the council, making sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. And so if you're interested in accountability and to making sure everybody's behaving themselves, it's a good committee to be part of.
So if anyone wants to make sure we do our job, sign up. We have 4 nominations for 6 places: Addy, Eleanor, Laura and Harry. It's just going to be a show of clickers, so if you want to vote them in, raise clickers. If you don't, raise clickers. And if any abstentions, fab. Right, steering committee. Rowan, do you want to introduce this?
Yeah, so steering committee basically gives you motions for to council for the council, check for any grammatical errors, spelling errors, just to make sure the motion actually makes sense and flows. So if you're pedantic about grammar, this is the committee for you, and the meeting will make sure as well. So it's a great one to go.
If you absolutely adore just ripping into pieces of text and complaining about that comma should not be there for about 20 minutes. It's actually really fun, seriously. Yes! That's what I want to see! Again, this is nice and easy. 2 places, 2 nominations, Lucy Kershaw and Tom Lowe. So it's just going to be a raising your clickers kind of palaver. So all those for? All those against? Any abstentions? Through. Right, welfare and campaigns. Last one, guys. Sarah, take it away and make it relatively short because
sorry, just not really.
I need pizza.
So welfare and campaign exec. So here we meet quite regularly, and we basically go through what's happening welfare related and wellbeing across the student body. We also go through upcoming campaigns, and if you're interested in what you want to run, if you want to run any campaigns. So we have myself. We have our 6 Liberation Officers, International Officer, we have a Nightline representative as well. Now we have Kira as well. So please put yourself forward if you're interested in any welfare related stuff and would like to make a difference.
I was on this last year and it was incredibly fun and they were biscuits. So if that helps the sell, there are 8 places available. Like, go for it. I only have one. Nobody will know.
The name in the bit at the top. Have one job. I just realised I signed up to 3. Contact details like email address then, right? Like, yeah. Well, that's email address. Well, I know. I was like, do my address, my mobile number, my telephone.
We have 8 nominations for 8 places, making everyone's life infinitely easier. If you don't like to stand up, do the whole show your face to the council thing. That would be great. Just arise. Now you can all sit. Fab. We'll just make this clickers thing again. So if everyone wants to pass, raise your clickers. Anyone against? Any abstentions? No? Fab. That's all of the elections out of the way this time around. Thank God we only have one thing left before the raffle, which is why we're all here, other than for food. So, the open debate, I believe, is Rowan leading the open debate? Is it usually education that leads the open debate? Oh, Ronnie's leading this one. I apologise profusely. No. Go for it.
So we don't have a photo, but do we? Oh, brilliant! Yeah, there we go. This is an image of the mural just on the window of Luther's, and obviously it's of Martin Luther King. And just to give a bit of background, we have had one formal complaint from a university professor, and anecdotal evidence of both members of the university community and university students feeling that this is an inappropriate place and representation of Dr. King on the basis of it being a bar. Just to give a bit of context in terms of how we got to this point, in December 2016 a motion was passed that in the March 2017 elections the name of the bar would change. 100 legitimate submissions were made and they were whittled down to 3. And in the March 2017 elections, Luther's was selected as the appropriate name for the student union bar. So over the summer, the transition was made from men's bar as it was to Luther's. So after that process, there have been a few complaints. But just to give it also some extra context in terms of how we got to Luther's, PTOs were consulted, partnership committee between the university and the students' union were also consulted, and also the marketing department at the university were consulted about this name change. Now, I don't think it is particularly my place to draw a line as to where I stand in terms of the cultural aspects to it, just because of who I am and actually just what I look like. However, what I would say is I think it would be a curious situation in which we had a name of a bar which can't change for 3 years. That's in the motion. It cannot change for 3 years. It would be curious if we had a bar named for 3 years, but be embargoed from being able to give any visual representation which explain that name. I think that would be an odd state of affairs. But just to open up the debate as to how students feel about this, are we using Dr. King's name and image in the wrong way? And I'd be very interested to hear what you think, informing future discussions with the university. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Does anyone have any comments to add to the debate?
What was the nature of the complaints? Like,
So the complaint said that we were using his name and image inappropriately, and that we may offend members of the martyrdom of Dr. King's family. So I think obviously coinciding with Freedom City as well, there were issues around that, because we're going to have so many people who are interested in Dr. King's story and his struggle coming onto our university campus. So that might also attract some bad press from the media, perhaps. So there were complaints around that, but in the formal complaint, there was no recognition of student union policy. And what I've always maintained is the same policies that will protect the name of the bar for 3 years will also ensure every student's right to bring a motion here and change and take down the murals which represent Dr. King.
Do you not have anything to say? Stunned silence. Oh, go for it.
I think one issue that people may have is that Dr. King in his life did struggle with alcoholism, and I think by the end of his life he was teetotal. So if you think about it, it is kind of strange to have the image of a person who did not drink alcohol on a place that is obviously a bar primarily for selling alcohol. But I think my opinion of the name change is that out of the 3 names you were given, I mean, none of the 3 were that good, was my opinion. But you know, we had to go for something, and I think a lot of people voted for Luther's because, you know, obviously Martin Luther King was a great man, no one's going to debate that, but and I think it's maybe we needed something more fitting than a room on this floor of the Union. Maybe a bar was not the right place to go. I maintain that the Marjorie Robinson Library should have been named after Martin Luther King, but that's neither here nor there. And I think that one concern that I have heard is also that if you name a bar Martin Luther King, people in that bar will get drunk. People in that bar will be racist in that bar. And it's kind of, if you think about it that way, it's also kind of inappropriate and kind of sad that that is the way we chose to commemorate Martin Luther King. But equally, I also don't blame people for voting for Luther's either, because I don't think the cross and lion or the Latin one was good either. So that's my 2 cents.
And those 2 cents are appreciated. Does anyone else have any comments to add to this debate? Going once. Oh, lovely.
Do we know who was consulted? Like, did we consult anybody, any historians at the time? Did we consult anybody from the family? Did we consult anyone at all? Or did we just say this is
when the names were selected? So when that
name went onto the list, we knew there was a chance we could name a bar after Martin Luther King.
To my knowledge, there was no consultation with the family. I don't think that's a particularly easy thing to do, because Martin Luther King is such an iconic.
Was any historians or?
I'm unsure, because obviously it was before my tenure that decision and that whistling down process was done. What I would say is, again, I think it would just be odd that we would be essentially contracted to having this bar named after Martin Luther King, but be embargoed from being able to represent that in a respectful way. Something else I would also say is, during the March election, we will always have our hustings down there. We'll host pub quizzes. We'll host our international welcome events as well. They're often down in that bar area. And that bar area also adheres to a sensible drinking policy as well. So all of these things, of course, alcohol is in that area and is in that vicinity, but I wouldn't say the purpose of that area is drinking and getting drunk eventually. I wouldn't say that.
Can I add to answer your question? I know Ronnie said PTOs were consulted. I don't believe it was the whole PTO team, so ISPT, UPTO. I don't think we were all consulted. Our racial equality officer was consulted, who didn't think it was a good idea.
Well, does anyone else have anything to say? Anything to add? Yes, lovely.
If you get rid of the mural, like, I think that would be fine because I don't think you immediately go from winter to light and pink, especially like just at the SU. Like for me, that wasn't my first thought. I never made it. Like this is the first time that I've moved was light and pink. So otherwise, I think I would just accept Lucas and Lucas.
I suppose at that point, the name of the bar becomes pretty meaningless because people just think it's Luther, maybe named after, or Idris Elba, or just a name, or Martin Luther, obviously during the Reformation. Exactly. We've opened up another can of worms there. I think it would be odd if we did that, but I just wanted to sort of sense the student view in future as to how we feel, and also encourage people, if you do have an issue, to bring a motion to council, next council, and we can vote on it.
Can I just say one point?
Of course.
Just one point on this for the history thing. I know Chris Diddy last year, the education officer who was behind the campaign to change the bar name, did look into it in some depth in terms of Martin Luther King himself, what he did, what his life was about. So I think the majority of students would have been aware that the idea was to name the bar in honour of him. So it was linked to him. So whether people had a view or had a not, or could have not voted for a bar name, it did go to all students. I think the email went to every single student so they could have a view on it. So I think that it's really getting some feedback, because I think this will run for a while. The university are particularly sensitive at the minute because of Freedom City there. But people will have a view, and I think it is known that one member of the King family is slightly litigious, so I think that's why the university are a little bit nervous about it as well. And they were fully aware of that last year when they did it, or they wouldn't have put it to the vote with the students. So the sabbatical team last year debated it quite a lot, put it out to everybody. He decided on balance it was better to honour him, and okay, if there's a little bit of risk in that, it's worth doing. And just for people who don't know, we've had a Martin Luther King cafe in here before. We've got a Martin Luther King room. We've got a mural in Arabic letters about him, and now we've got a bar. So he's been around the building a little bit. And the university want to put his face on the front of the building for Freedom City still.
I'm willing to take one more comment before we. Oh God, there are several people who has not. Oh, go on.
If we were perhaps using Dr. King's image a bit less superficially, because it's just a space, if we wanted to use, I don't know, Ronnie was kind of saying that it's not just a bar, it is kind of a community centre, there's lots of stuff going on. Could it perhaps help in some way? I still definitely think there are issues, but if there was actually, for instance, in the library, we kind of have an exhibition going at the moment about Martin Luther King, there was actually some information and something honouring him more than just kind of, here's this guy's face.
I think the whole Freedom City will be a load of events throughout November, which are doing exactly that in different places.
But if we could have some kind of permanent installation in the bar that was a bit more going in depth about Dr. King and why we chose him to honour him.
Okay, so yeah.
Lovely. Right. On that note, one last thing before I let you all escape. Raffle. So I've got two £10 vouchers for Eldon Square. And I'm going to draw these at complete random, or as complete random as I get. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Does anyone have 46 through to 50? Oh, there's one, 46 through to 50. Yep, come up, front. Voucher. Lovely. There we are, £10 into a voucher for you. One more. This is fun. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Brilliant. Fab, congratulations.
Vouchers as well downstairs.
Yes, I was about to do that. You're more than welcome. Right, couple of tiny little admin bits. One, whilst you leave, can you make sure you pop your clickers and your bags back in that box and any rubbish in that bin next to Kay. I will be downstairs momentarily in Luther's with these, which are £2 drinks vouchers or tokens or something. I will recognise all of your faces, probably. There are only 40 of them. So, yeah. So a few people mightn't get it, but I have vouchers. Right. We're done. You can now all go back home or to the bar.